Hi, you're listening to Celluloid Codswallop with James and Gemma. Sit down and enjoy yourself, grab a snack, and have some fun.
So, welcome to this week's Celluloid Codswallop. We are recording and reviewing episode 9 of Picard, named Et in Arcadia Ego, and this is a two-parter, so this is part one of it. And I am joined, as ever, by the wonderful, slightly bonkers, and we love her for that, Joanne.
Hi, James. How's it going?
It's pretty good. Touch wood, I haven't contracted the coronavirus yet, and I'm hoping that's the same for you.
Yeah, so far so good. But bearing in mind, we started this podcast and there wasn't really many problems. We heard about this mysterious virus in a far-off land, and by the time we're getting to the end of Picard, we're fucked, and the zombie apocalypse. We have jinxed the planet. If we hadn't, I have to wonder, it's a wee bit like you don't send something on a Facebook, where you get these things and Messenger, send this on to 10 people for good luck. Maybe if we hadn't started this podcast, the world would still be a safer place.
God, you might be right. I mean, it's more, what terrifies me is, and you and I discussed this beforehand, is the fact that, there's this running joke about me, having the ability to prognosticate and see the future on things. But I did say there would be coronavirus challenge videos, and unfortunately, yes, there have been coronavirus challenge videos of people licking toilets and other things. Society is fucked.
Yeah, completely and utter. You could be Mystic Stafford.
That's true. What worries me is that I am indeed Mystic Stafford. I can see these things for other people. All I want to do is see something for myself. Please, lottery numbers, Euro Millions numbers.
Location of toilet rolls.
Oh, tell me about it, yeah. Toilet rolls. Don't understand why that's so obsessed with people, but as I said, society is fucked. Now, what I want us to do is discuss a nicer, kinder, gentler society. In theory, which is the society in Star Trek.
What an example this is. I mean, given what we've seen so far, the Federation isn't the good, clean people that it used to be, and the Romulans are back to being fucking headers.
Indeed we are. Indeed they are, not we. But yeah, it's an interesting way for the episode to open. So we open with... Joanne's favourite character ever, Agnes, under a table, scared, which probably gave me a lot of pleasure.
I was fucking livid. I was sitting thinking, James, they fucking started it with your woman hiding under a table. Please let this be over. Please let this be over. That's what I think every time I see you. I just want to get to the end of your scene. You are having exactly the same reaction as I am.
But I do like that you see the difference between the way she's viewing this, because the ship's going through like some sort of wormhole. And to be fair, the seasoned Starfleet people look pretty interested and also pretty sort of relaxed about it. And the ship's firing through this really snazzy looking wormhole thing, which spits them out on the other side and takes them down to a planet. And well, it's just an interesting way of seeing how things are going at this point. Everybody looks really happy and relaxed because, what they've done is they've travelled across a huge distance of time to the planet that was, it is basically Soji's, home planet, isn't it, basically?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because they've gone through a transwarp conduit, which has taken them 25 light years in just 15 minutes. Actually, just on your note about the staff looking quite relaxed, or the flight deck looking quite relaxed, did you notice that Rios was sucking that cigar like a big cock?
Yeah, I think they always seem sort of like really chowing down on the cigar. Yeah, I noticed that one. It was.
Yeah. That man has great technique.
So the crew are all there. They're saying it's great. They've got to this planet known as Capelios. Yeah, I think it's Capelios it's called. And, you know, Agnes is obviously expecting to be put into Deep Space 12. But that is not the case. And interestingly, they then find out they are being chased by the Romulan, which they don't really understand how that's happened, the little Romulan ship, because, you know, Agnes ingested the weird metal stuff and wasn't they shouldn't be able to track her. But obviously they've been lucky enough to get into the wormhole thing and follow them through. And things take a very interesting turn at this point, because what you're seeing at this point is just a normal sort of, you know, dogfight in space. And it then gets a bit more interesting because it goes from that to where we think people are going to die. And the interesting points around that is the fact that I like the fact that Soji basically sort of saying, let him die. You know, he screwed us over. He screwed me over. Well, I don't know if they know it's him, but they're sort of saying, get them. Just finish them off. It makes no difference. They tried to kill us. We should do the same. And Picard, again, shows the thing that we always sort of love Picard for as captain, which is the fact that he was saying, no, we have to show compassion to this person. Killing them is not the right way to go ahead. But basically, it turns out he was playing possum, as they say, and starts like firing back on them and creating further aggro. So maybe Soji was right.
Oh, she was, because he was using his cloaking device as a holographic projector to try and fool them. Something that actually Picard has used before in one of his original ships, because he talks about it in one of the old TNG episodes, how that he'd done exactly that same maneuver, just to fool whoever it was that was after them at the time. I can't remember what the episode was. He mentions one of his old ships that he'd been command on. But it's quite interesting that it's fooled him completely. Even though he's used it himself before in the past, it's fooled him. And you see the ship actually sort of blinking in and out because the cloaking device is supposed to be on the blink. And I'd like to know actually how we know eventually who it is, so but we can't say how he sort of fooled his life sign readings, because allegedly at that point his life sign readings weren't great. But again, that was a fool as well, because the fucker was completely all right. He just was completely bluffing the crew of La Serena.
And then what happens? And I honestly would have loved to have seen this single shot in a cinema, because it was so amazing. The sweep of what else will come through the wormhole is a Borg cube, and the sweep of seeing that was absolutely brilliant on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But we then jump to what I can only say is, like, to me, and I'd love to hear what your take is on this, Joanne. To me, this is classic Trek in the sense of really classic Trek, because you get weird shit, which is like flowers enveloping the ships. Now, to me, that really made me think of like Kirk era Star Trek. That sort of strange thing of something enveloping that's like a flower.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, to me, the episode, and I couldn't help but think on a few times bits and pieces that happened later on the planet, it had that feeling of old Trek. Even some of the music, the way it was played, and, you know, the weird, freaky sort of stuff. It was like the writers were on the same drugs as they had been on the 60s. And it was wonderful just to see that influence coming through into a brand new version of Trek. But there was that love. But those big orchids are quite freaky. In fact, in some ways, maybe if you're not used to old Trek, you might be sitting at that point going, what am I watching here? This is a bit strange that these big flowers appear from the surface, because Rafi says with bogies incoming, and they just wrap themselves around and destroy the comms, and they destroy the electronics on board. I don't actually know exactly how they do that, but they seem to short things out, because as they drag them down to the surface. But for them to have the power to bring the Borg cube down, just shows you how powerful they are.
Yeah. And maybe it's like an EMP, electromagnetic pulse style thing that causes them to switch off. But they also do this sort of weird stuff where, and again, this makes me really think back to old Trek. And I loved when you said to me that when they were on the planet makes you think of old Trek, because when I watched it on broadcast on the Friday, I thought that straight away, that it felt like really old style Star Trek. But it's like Picard gets possessed, I think, or something of that nature, because he starts like trying to communicate with them, blacks out. I mean, that felt like really old Star Trek to me, this idea of somebody getting possessed by some sort of plant or something.
Yeah, did you not think, come on now, I'm laughing here, did you not think to yourself at that moment, that man has secretly dropped a bit of cheese?
Yes, very strong cheese. I think what he probably did was actually drop, that cheese that's illegal. I think it's in France that has worms in it.
I need to go to the parties you're going to. I mean, I've done some strange, but I have never gone to a party where they're going, "Here, mate, try this cheese here. It's really good shit, man." Just sell it in wee tiny paper bags as well. We 10 deal for a wee bit of cheese.
Well, the Coke comes open and you pick, Gorgonzola, Swiss, Brie.
We have a total obsession now with cheese because of Picard. Of course, we have agreed, as we discussed earlier before we started plotting as well, that your quarantine food is cheese.
Definitely. So it means I'm going to, at least, if we are all locked down and quarantined, I'm at least going to be having some cool dreams, or scary dreams, because I have always seemed to find out that whenever I have cheese, I have weird dreams. Now, what I find interesting is Picard is carted off to sick bay, and the ship's knackered, and they work out that, they have to open the vents or lights, whatever, something that'll let light in. You know what I mean? Windows and shit.
Yeah, it's a sunroof.
You know what I mean? Sunroof, yeah. By hand, because everything's knackered.
Yeah, I think it's been an old Capri, actually, that they were riding across space. And they've been able to open the sunroof. And it's been one of those wee windy sunroofs as well. Not even an electronic one, but one that you had to wind.
I remember that. If kids will be listening to this and they go, what? There used to be things called sunroofs, and there used to be things that were electric.
Tell somebody's age by if they pretend to wind down the window, they just don't pretend to hit a button, they actually do a cranking motion.
Yeah, I mean, I still find it amazing now that most cars you'll get in, even base models, have electric windows. Because at one stage, when I was a child, electric windows were considered a luxury. When I was a teenager, they're still considered a luxury.
Yep, things have changed. Definitely. I'm sure you can even plug vibrators into the mains now. Who'd have thought it?
That's your job to research that. Get to it after this podcast.
That's why I might self-isolate. I have them all lined up. You've seen my Facebook page. You must
have. Indeed, I have. No. So, Picard, though, now I'm going to mention this, and I'm going to hand it over to you to run with this. But all I'm going to say is something I found interesting. So, Picard is unwell. We know he's unwell, and they bring him round and they do this great thing saying, look, old tricorder because everything's broken. But they leave him with Agnes. Now, I know Agnes is a doctor, but what are your thoughts on this? Can you see why I see this as potentially being a bit of a strange thing?
Yeah, I think some mates he has on that ship. Oh, yeah, that's okay. Just we'll let Agnes take care of him. Sure, the last time she took care of anybody on her own, she killed him, but we'll not hold that against her. It was just a mistake. It was an accident. It was murder. Okay, well, sure, we'll just forget that she actually murdered Maddox. She hasn't had sex with Picard, so he might be safer. I know. I think it's a really, really... It's a bit like leaving Harold Shipman alone with a load of old people suffering from the virus.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It does seem strange they're so willing to just say, well, we won't I mean, okay, I get why they haven't carried her off to Deep Space 12, which I'm just going to say as a side note, I was very disappointed they say Deep Space 12 and not Deep Space 9.
I know. I wanted to see this Deep Space 12 just to see if it looked anything like Deep Space 9. Was there maybe one of a franchise of Quarks on it? Maybe there was some sort of weird looking Odo. I mean, by now, of course, Odo would have closed the Promenade. Promenade would be on lockdown. Odo is the type of person we need in charge of the UK at the moment. Odo would know what to do.
Yeah. Well, he'd probably just start mass execution of people as well.
But going workers. That's what Boris Johnson needs to come on with. Tonight, folks, actually, when we're recording, we're waiting for Boris Johnson to come on at 8:30. And by the time you hear this, you'll know exactly what's happening to brief the country to see we're all expecting lockdown or some sort of, stricter measures. But I think Gul Dukat should really come on at 8:30 and say, attention, Bajoran workers, and tell us exactly what it is that we have to do.
Yeah, I think. I mean, we may even be finished recording by then, but who knows? But yeah, basically, the coronavirus is reaping chaos across the world, and things are getting a bit difficult. But going back to our wonderful Picard show, they're learning about difficulties there because although they've left Picard with Agnes, and Agnes hasn't killed him, which is a thumbs up to Agnes. She's uncovered about his health problem that's causing a big deterioration, uncurable deterioration. So I assume it's sort of like dementia or some sort of brain problem for him, to go with the near parlance for what's happening now. And the crew are all upset. Well, he tells the crew, basically just says, if you start mollycoddling me, I'll be pissed off.
Yeah, he does. Poor Rafi's just having a breakdown. I mean, actually, I'm proud of Rafi in this one because she doesn't smoke or take drugs or anything or drink. Well, in fairness, she's no time, but she probably is the one with the biggest emotions of them all. She is. I think she's reflecting back how the audience feel about the thought of the death of Picard. Just how upsetting it'll be, either if it happens in the series or maybe if the Borg will rescue him in some way, or I have had a wee theory here, but I don't want to say it yet because it only spoils later on down the line. But just had a wee thought anyway. But yes, I think Rafi probably, she's us. She is the audience. Please don't die, Picard. We love you. It's only a bunion you have. It shouldn't be that serious.
But very true. But they all have to go out onto the planet, and again, they're in a pretty difficult situation because they're sort of completely going to the unknown. The one thing I did find a bit strange is the way that Soji's able to suddenly remember things that she wouldn't know or know things that she possibly shouldn't know. My guess on that is because it's things that are just pre-built into a cortex sort of thing. And we do get a good shot of the two weird moons, was it? Two weird moons, yeah, for the planet. Yeah. It's lovely. Again, whoever shot this is again where it'd be great if it was cinematic, because you're getting these huge shots where you see the desert area and you see the ship, and they go into the Borg ship, and actually, I'm going to let you step into this entirely, Joanne, because I feel this is more for you than it is for me.
Yeah, I mean, Picard's absolutely delighted to walk into the Borg ship, and there's all the wee XBs running around trying to fix things. Bless them, good wee drones that they are. Eleanor appears. I think, yes, Eleanor appears and gives Picard massive hugs. And then from up above on a ledge, we see the lovely Seven of Nine appearing, dragging two Romulans, and she throws them off. She throws them off this ledge, and she asks, what is she says? There's something that she says to Picard. Let's see. If they've arrived for the cleanup, or if they just like to make a mess as well. So it was great actually, because she was able to relate to Picard at that point then, that she had noticed that the La Sirena, as it was going into the conduit, that there was a snakehead in pursuit, one of the Romulan dudes, and she opened another one of these Borg technology advancement doofers, and she followed them through to try and protect them. You gotta love Seven of Nine. I mean, she's badass, and she's not a girly girl, but she's sexy as fuck.
I mean, I loved, two things that I just noticed in that scene myself is the part when one of the Borg called him the cutest, which I thought was great. And I think it possibly the same person who said it when he was on the cube and it was functioning. It was interesting to see Picard really got freaked out by that, though. He physically backed up.
Yeah, and do you know what was annoying about that bit? We still don't know. Maybe that's the bit where Picard or where Elnor bounces in like a puppy. We still don't know who this XB is, what his relationship is to Picard, and it's killing me that we still don't get that answered in this scene.
But it was interesting to see how much it terrified him, actually. But I guess maybe it's prisoner of war sort of flashback thing for him. But I loved when you saw Seven of Nine appear. I loved the fact how happy she looked. For the first time I can really think of, she actually looked genuinely happy to see the people, and she looked very human, very smiley and everything. And she looked sexy as hell. For me, really, really.
Oh, it's great. And her hair looked lovely again. I have to say, I don't know who's doing her hair, but I wish they'd do mine because she just looks absolutely fabulous. And she would have, that hit the planet with one hell of a thump, and yet she still looks absolutely fabulous. And she doesn't actually have her jacket on this occasion, which is it was a very nice jacket that she had, but she's jacketless. So we get to see her lovely shape. I'm sorry, I'm very sexist about Seven of Nine, but I can't help myself. I am but a mere flesh and blood.
I just want to say that I completely endorse and agree with every single thing that you have said about her, Joanne. I mean, I did find it quite amusing that her hair and things look absolutely perfect, but by God, the woman is gorgeous. I mean, truly gorgeous, gorgeous woman.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see that Picard basically was saying we have to sort this out. We have to go with the members of the ship to help them. And there's this lovely comment where Seven of Nine basically says to him, saving the galaxy is usual, and he goes, nope, that's up to you now. And you actually see real emotional response from Seven of Nine. Not that you've not seen before, but she must genuinely like Picard. Can you see her getting, you can see her eyes water and things. So she's really, she obviously likes the guy and cares for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's wonderful that the Borg cube is on the planet, and I've no doubt that that's going to play a major part next week, because we've seen what's incoming in this series as well. Because the weaponry on that, and Picard notices that the XBs are busy and about, and he asks what they're doing, and she tells him that they're fixing the replicators, and he asks, "Oh, can you set up the long distance scanners then?" And the wee geniuses they do.
And when he's left and the crew have all left, they basically, it does an interesting sort of group shot and shows them looking at a building, which, upon looking at it now as it's going in the background, looks like part of a transformer to me, that have like fallen apart. But anyway, that's just me. Looks like part of the city from Transformers Metroplex toy. And they go down to this to meet what are basically going to be Soji's people. I noticed that Picard takes a nip from something, whether it's like a drink of water or alcohol or something that he's drinking, but I'm sure you see him taking a drink from something. And then you see all the people gathering around, well, I say people, they're all the cyborgs, who all have a real look of Data. They've got the gold skin and the gold eyes. But this, to me, is like proper classic Trek. All these people in the sort of weird, sort of like maybe trying to be a bit 60s, but trying to be a bit out there costumes. This felt like proper Star Trek.
It did, and the music at this point as well goes slightly groovy as well. You were saying you thought it looked like a Transformers village. I thought it looked more like 70s LA porn star mansion.
Yeah, you might be. We might be both onto something, actually.
It didn't have that far out hippie man. I was just at any moment, and they didn't have it because I was looking for it all the way through it. I expected an indoor swimming pool or an outdoor swimming pool, but with a lot of half-naked young women walking around. And in the end, everybody's very tastefully dressed with their golden skin, And they're all twins, of course, which is great because that ties in with the whole twin thing that's been throughout Picard. You know, Daj and Soji and all Lore and Data. And, of course, there's B4, but there wasn't a B after, so we never seen who his twin was. But it's great that they've taken that theme all the way. And some of them are doing there's some of them they're doing martial arts as well whenever Picard and crew walk in. And that's the martial art. That's the not Romulan. Gosh, how dare I, the Klingon martial art that Worf taught on board TNG. That's what they're doing at that time.
And it is interesting to see that the twin, I have to admit this, that I actually hadn't thought about the twin thing until you mention it now. But and I've just got it on pause in front of me, but the actual twins we've seen are not some sort of fancy thing they did with, say, Soji, where the actress is doubled. These are real twins.
Yep, they sure are.
So yep, the Ramsey twins and the Perpetuo twins showing up, which is very cool that they're actually, properly using twins in it. And they discuss the fact that the weird giant plants are the orchids, which basically can't. They don't have enough to sort of take down ships and kill people. And although they can make more, they only have 2 days. Now, I will admit that when and you will know what I'm on about, but when this man appeared, I honestly went, whoa.
Yeah, and yes. That was a real shock. What a lovely wee jolt that was at that point for the band. It's like, holy shit, it's Brent Spinner. Or Spiner, whatever. I never quite remember how to pronounce his last name. Yeah, and he turns out to be the son of Noonien Sung. His name is, I had to have this one written down, Altan Inigo Sung. As he tells the Data, yes, it must be a bit of a surprise. It's a bit of a surprise to him too that he's getting older. That his father made him, but he designed Data. There's something along those lines. So you get the feeling that maybe as Alton has grown up, that there's been a wee bit of a rivalry. He's always been compared to Data.
Well, he sort of makes the comment, I've not got it right now in front of me, but it's something on the lines of like, I'm like Data if Data got, soft and old. Yeah. But Data never aged, sort of thing, which my father never let me forget. I found an interesting thing. It's when they talk about the plants, when they were just backtracking onto the ship and sort of going, what the hell are these plant things? And suddenly Soji goes, oh, they're orchids. They're called orchids. So it's like she keeps getting these sudden moments of remembrance, or that come back to her, which initially I found a bit annoying, but make sense when I'm reviewing it right now. I'll say for Brent Spiner, I think he's aged reasonably well. I'm sure he's in his 70s now. He's either very late 60s or early 70s. And it's interesting to see him not made up as Data.
He does look sprightly. I think, okay, there was a lot of criticism when people seen the early screenshots of him as Data. Yeah, because he looked like he had suffering from anaphylactic shock because he was so bloated looking in his face. It didn't look right, but he does look, now that you see him in real life compared to whenever you seen him as Data, actually it's not a bad job. I don't feel as critical of the job that they did before, how much they changed him, because he is a man that's, your features change as you get older, and I give them credit. I think they did okay. But I think I'm going to say these orchids. You mentioned the fact they've only a handful of 4 or something left, but they do have 218 Romulan warbirds on the way, which is slightly worrying because you could see the Commander O was in one of them.
The interesting thing is that speaking of Data and the way he looked, one of the things that really got me, when the first trailer came out, is the sheer horrendous. Now, I don't know if he'd done it on purpose or it had been a reshoot, because if you cast your mind back to the first trailers that came out, when you saw Data, his hairpiece looked horrendous. His makeup job looked bad. It looked bad. it looked like someone's really bad attempt to make somebody look like they used to look. But I mean, the wig alone, I just remember looking and thinking, oh my God, this is going to be, if this is the look they're going for, this is going to look terrible. But then when it actually broadcast, they did a really good job with it of making him look as he was supposed to look. Okay, he was a little bit more weight, but he looked really good, the hair, etc. So I don't know whether they've done it as a test to just show how bad it could be and keep people in suspense. I could never work that one out.
It was just, I mean, it's been great. We've seen a song and we've seen Data. And so there's that connection to the stints and all the history that's gone on before, because you think about it, the songs have been in, I'm trying to think what they haven't been in. They were in Enterprise.
They were, yeah.
Yeah, TNG. Have they been in Deep Space Nine, Voyager? Don't know. Probably not Voyager. Can't remember if Deep Space Nine, but they have. That family has been woven through the history of the Federation. And the thing about the songs as well is they're very ambivalent. You're never really sure what side they're going to be on.
Mm.
Never ever sure. The one in Enterprise, he was very. Well, he was dodgy. I mean, he was the one really that had designed Khan, wasn't he? Didn't he? That was, I'm going to stutter here over what I'm trying to say, but that was whenever they decided they modify humans, and he was part of that as well. That special, the superior race that Khan was a survivor from. So I mean, he was involved in that too. So you're never sure what his motives are.
Well, I always feel the Soongs are on the side of the Soongs. You know, it's what's going to benefit them. As you said, they're quite a complex family, with obviously focused on, certainly on genetics and, creating android life. And speaking of creation of android life, we get introduced to, Isa Briones is pulling double duty again, because she appears as a character called Sutra, who very much has the Data look, the eyes, the makeup, and this wonderful long dark hair. Something that's like pissed me off is before viewing this episode is actually somebody posted a still of her on Facebook, and I was like, well, balls, that's ruined something for me. It didn't ruin too much, because my theory was, could it be that they go to the planet, Soji morphs into that look somehow? But that has not been the case. I found it a very interesting look they gave her, actually, where when she was no longer being Soji but became Sutra. It was quite a cool look for her, and I love that she took Joanne's favourite character to task.
Yes. Oh, she gives her a bollocking, all right. She really does. She can't believe that she had killed Maddox. And the only thing is that Alton explains that he had always been against Maddox's plan because he was worried about it bringing down unwanted attention on them, and which it proved to be correct in the end. But yeah, she does. She just bollocks out Agnes. Agnes kind of tries to defend herself. She comes across as usual a bit wishy-washy with her no eyebrows to actually be able to get any facial expressions off her, but yeah, it doesn't go well at all with Sutra. Actually, I'm just thinking as well that they missed a real comedy joke. What they should have done with her sister, because her sister was Jana. So you have Sutra and you have Jana. Jana was the one that was killed by Rios's old captain. They shouldn't have called her Jana. They should have called her Karma. You could have had Karma. I'm build up there to that joke, and I thought I'm going to blow it. Disappointed.
I've just had a rather pervy thought. You know how Soong is down there on the planet with all these things. Do you think he's having sex and orgies with them?
Well, I want to know: are they? Do they have all the techniques that Data has?
I suspect so. I'd be amazed if they didn't. So I can imagine lots of orgies,
Yeah, it definitely has a feeling of a cult. It has this feeling of definitely. A 1970s LA cult. And you could just imagine them doing their weird religion-y stuff and then a few sacrifices to some weird gods. and then lots of sex and drugs.
I mean, the thing I get with Sutra is that when she's giving Agnes a telling off, because the contact lenses that are used, I mean, it's an intense look, isn't it? You would really know you were being observed when she's staring at you. But the other thing that I couldn't sort of get my head around is, how has she learnt the Vulcan mind meld? Because she, seems like all getting these tits off sort of thing, but oh, she's great, she's wonderful, she can do a mind meld. And I know it's so they can like do weird shit with Agnes's brain, but how the hell would you have picked up on that? I don't understand. And we go through all this weird stuff where we see like life coming from life, and we see like cyborgs being built, and again we see Data's face for some reason, and the chaos of the organic sort of the cyborgs as a threat, and we get to see, well, frankly, some seriously hippie trippy shit of stuff going on, and sites of planets being destroyed, and we almost will go a bit Doctor Who when they talk about beyond boundaries of time and space and stuff, and but we basically just seen chaos unfold. It was interesting.
I mean, I think the whole thing was, the only good thing about the mind meld, which, yes, I agree, I find that slightly problematic. I know Sung was saying she could play the Vulcan harp, and she'd read Zurich, or the philosopher who started it all, their way of life on Vulcan, the Vulcan way of life. That the mind meld, how on earth was she able to do that? Because you could almost feel that it would have to be more of an organic. It would be more of the organics, something that humans could do, but that machines would have difficulty with. Because you think that Data had extreme difficulty with a lot of motions at times. I couldn't imagine Data being able to do that, no matter how advanced. And okay, I know these synths are a wee bit more advanced, but given the fact that she's one with golden eyes and the same kind of skin texture and tone as Data, and there's these other ones that are later models, you'd maybe nearly would have thought that Soji could have done something like that rather than a previous model. It was slightly problematic, though. It did save the bit where they then would have to go off to this grief planet that the Romulans had been on to look at the what's it called, admonition themselves. At least she was able to push the storyline along and say, here's a synth culture, advanced culture of synths that are just waiting for us to send out a beacon to get help. But I mean, obviously the upside to that would be then all organics would have to die to save the synths.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they also have to have throw in the old thing of saying fascinating, just to give us a nice Spock reference. But we then cut to the evil mad genius. Well, he's not evil, but the sort of like mad genius of Alton Soong in his room, where he's basically again admonishing Agnes, saying, "How could you kill?" Joanne, you have to help me. What was the chap he called that she killed?
Oh, Maddox.
Yeah, so he's saying to her, how on earth could he kill Maddox? All the sort of stuff you wanted, that you believed that you wanted to do. He's obviously upset by it. Then he poses the question: well, if you can kill somebody, could you also give up your own life to help somebody? And I'm very interested to see what happens here, because he pulls back he's in his little room and he pulls back a sheet to show a golem. So my thought is, who is the golem going to be? Because I can see that the golem potentially could play something very big in the next episode. Could be used for something. One of my strange hypotheses is, could this have something to do with Picard and maybe curing Picard's mental problem?
Yeah, that was when I had a wee sort of like a wee brainwave earlier. That's what I was thinking of too. But I think it's for Sung. I think he's maybe dying as well, or it's just the fact that he's getting older and he wants to be like his children. He wants to be able to live forever with them. So I think it's for him. But I think what we may find happening is that, Picard will somehow end up in that, and that's how Picard will be saved in the end from his from the thing that's going on in his head that's eventually going to kill him again. Because a song also says that it was a sense of urgency to try and get the golem finished, and he asks Agnes to help him because apparently this was Maddox's bit. The what's it called? He was an expert on substrate work, and she seems to be able to do something very similar to Maddox. She's as advanced as he is in this line of redesigning, I suppose, synths. And so yeah, I think he wants Agnes to help him to become this golem, and not the one from Lord of the Rings.
That would make sense because he does mention about getting old and whatnot. The only thing is, if it does go to being something to do with, say Picard went into it as an example, not saying that'll happen, but if something like that sort of happens, we're into X-Men territory. What happened in one of the, I think it was X-Men 3, where spoilers for however many years old film it is, but again, we're seeing Sir Patrick Stewart in that part when he's playing Professor X. He gets killed, and his body wakes up in a clone. So if they do that, that'll be interesting. Possibly a bit of weak work, in my opinion, but it'd be interesting. I do like that, you have Soji and her Data double having a sort of like morality-based sort of discussion. And then it cuts to the fact that they have a Data's cat clone.
Yeah. That's the only time that I've actually felt jealous of Agnes. She's able to scratch Spot too. And he's gorgeous and he's content. I mean, Spot was just such a great character for Data. I mean, he helped Data find his humanity as well. Do you remember the bit where he asks Worf to look after the cat, and Worf sort of standing with his cat at arm's length, and Data said to him, "You must play with him. You must tell him he's a lovely cat." And Worf's just looking at the cat, completely bemused. And then the cat would often attack members of the crew that were trying to look after him as well. Every time we seen him on screen, he was lovely, but to anybody else, he was just a vicious tomcat.
Well, I've gathered that's also quite realistic, I think, for what the actual cat was like in real life to the cast when they were trying to film things. It could be quite quite difficult.
It's typical cat. Sometimes scratch me. No, I'm telling a lie. I'm going to actually scratch you instead. You never know where you are with cats, especially whenever they roll on and say, "Oh, scratch my tummy." As Admiral Akbar would say, "It's a trap. Don't fucking do it. You're not going to come away with all your fingers."
But we get to see Agnes and it's Rios, isn't it, having a bit of a moment of reflection, and sort of saying, well, it's a slight romantic moment, but it's not so much. And then we cut to, and this is a really, really nice little scene. We cut to Jean-Luc with Raffi, and she calls him JL, which I know has hurt some people, but it's okay with me. We saying you got used to it, yeah. But we see, she's obviously very upset about Picard's illness, and she basically says to I love you, which is a lovely little thing. She said, you don't have to say that back to me, but I love you. And it's a lovely thing, but Picard looks very, very uncomfortable.
He does. It's like, oh shit, is she going to rip me here out in the desert? What do I say back to this woman again? Do you know what's quite nice in the end? He thinks about it, and he thinks about it because I couldn't help but think of the scene where Soji and Picard are talking about how Data would see Picard, and he mentions the fact that he had trouble processing emotions like Data had. But it's almost like he goes to his memory banks and, like a good sociopath, decides, how far should I take this? Can I play along? And whether he means it or not, he tells Raffi that he loves her. And that's really what Raffi is pretty much. She lives on her emotions. And she just needs to hear that at that time. I like to think that he does love her, but there's an element of Picard that I've seen in this series that I don't think I would trust the man anymore.
I mean, I would like to think he does mean it. I think he probably does. I think he does have a problem getting in contact with his emotions to a degree. I did find it a bit weird when Rios says that Agnes is having a sleepover. what was that? Did you? Am I being a bit thick? Was I missing something? Did he just mean she was staying there, or?
Yeah, I think that's what he meant, because she's decided that she's going to stay to make up for everything that she's did, and she's going to help Noonien Sung as well, and because they agree. I think they agree that he's going to stay in the planet as they're fixing things, but not to leave without her, because she says, don't forget me, and Rios says, you're anything but unforgettable. And actually, on this occasion, I would agree with him, but for completely different reasons.
Yeah. For you, it's complete hatred of the character.
I just want to draw a set of eyebrows on her. The woman needs eyebrows. Somebody out there give her eyebrows if she's in the dick season.
Now, we cut to, I'm afraid I know he's a two-faced murdering bastard, but he just comes across as pathetic wet that you just want to slap. Narek is in jail, and he's doing what all whinging, pathetic sociopaths do, which is try and say, oh, but I love you, because basically he's trying to get help, and he saying that he needs medical help, and he's talking about how crappy the situation is if he was like in a Romulan jail, and Saga is falling for this. Soji basically comes on and says, kick the shit out of him, sort of thing. It's bullshit, don't help him. And then he's trying to appeal to Soji's side, saying I loved you, etc., and she's basically says to him, I'm more disgusted by the fact that I feel sympathy for you than anything else, which I thought was pretty cool, actually. I pity you.
Yeah, I love the way she challenged him, because he tried to kill her before. I only tried to kill you because I thought you were going to kill me. Yeah, we've heard that. That's bullshit. Absolute fucking bullshit. I only did this because I thought you were going to do it to me first. Whenever rightly, the person's not going to do that first. I just find the man incredibly unattractive. He just creeps me out.
I think it's more the fact for me that we also know he's just lying. I don't think he does love her. Or if he does, he might do, actually, because he's so pathetically weak in reality. In fact, I'm sad to see why his sister was so pissed off with him all the time. But as things will go on, maybe he's not as weak and pathetic as we think. He's just annoying. I just don't like him. Which he's a correct response. He's not meant to be a likable character, is he? Now, interesting, Picard. Sorry, go on, John. Sorry.
I was just going to say, technically, we shouldn't like his sister, but we fancy her something stupid and absolutely adore the woman. So that probably says a lot about us, that we absolutely love psychotic women.
Yeah, but again, her being fanciable makes a lot more sense because she's very attractive and she's got that sort of dark side that people like in characters. Whereas with him, well, to be fair with him, he was more likable when he was more of like an evil, nasty sort of turncoat a bit before he became this sort of snivelling, nasty turncoat.
Yeah, he's a tosser. He's a complete and utter tosser. There's nothing attractive about him at all. It's probably, we've all been there where we thought, oh, this person's the one for me. And then you see them years later and you think, why the fuck did I have any feelings for them? They're a complete tosspot. Oh, I can't have them anywhere near people.
Totally. Now, Picard's attempting to get help by doing some sort of weird, encrypted subspace bollocks to Starfleet. I didn't fully understand it. It was just exposition stuff. Sat in the room going, oh, look, I'm in Maddox's wank room with his picture of him kissing Agnes.
Oh, yeah.
They've decided that fixing Narek's face is cool, and Sutra appears and basically opens his cell. Now, interesting with Sutra, as a side note, the whole look they've given her, I find that very attractive. I think they've made her look very attractive. Whether I'm just some sort of strange pervert who's attracted to cyborgs, I don't know. But I do find the Sutra character very beautiful, the way they've designed her. So she then goes and sort of like he's getting a bit close to Narek. you see this interesting thing where it cuts to Picard and Soji having a conversation where Soji's asking about the importance of life, basically sort of saying, is it better to kill somebody who's going to potentially kill you, about the moral implications of taking a life. And interestingly then cut to, I'm looking at him now, I'm sorry, but he's just such a wet bastard. But Sutra's in the cell, sort of getting up close and threatening him and basically sort of saying, I want to kill you, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to get out of here.
Yes, she mounts him. I thought, hello, what's going on here?
Yeah, no, I thought that too. I wonder what was going to happen if she was going to get it on with him.
Oh, what is it with these women? His sister wants to fuck him. Soji's fucked him, and now the other sister wants to have a go at him as well. I find that really creepy at that point. Yes, Sutra is absolutely beautiful, stunning, but she gives me the willies. She really does. As a character, I find her so threatening. It's a wonderful portrayal by the actress because it's such a different character. Because Naj was really nice. She was kind of more she was probably closer in nature to Data. Soji's starting to become maybe a wee bit more like lower in some way, challenging. And
spot on.
Yeah. Are you sure that humanity's right? I mean, this is like a reversal of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, because the chances are there's more organic life than there is synth life. So for her, it's the needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many.
But I get the impression and I had not thought this until you mentioned about law. Basically, the wet-ass Romulan, though, has broken out. He's killed we're assuming he has killed one of the twin sisters. Not, Akana's twin sister, assuming, or is it Akana has been killed by being stabbed in her eye with like a brooch. And it then cuts to conversation from Sutra where she's sort of saying to everybody, I've seen the danger of this situation, what's going to happen. And interesting, is when you said Law, is she getting a bit more like Law here?
Yes, I think the good sister was killed that time by Rios' old captain. If you think that there's like a yin and yang, a good and evil twin, that it's quite possible that Jana, her sister, was the peacekeeper and they were on a peacekeeping mission. Maybe that's why she was sent off world. I would love to know who was with her. I've just thought of that. Who, if they're all twins, who was Beautiful Flower? Because Beautiful Flower's twin should really also still be on the planet. If Sutra's there, where is the twin of Beautiful Flower who accompanied Jana and who was killed at the same time as she was? There you go. Maybe that person will appear next week. But yes, certainly I think we've been left with the evil sister. And not only that, this Sutra has only had contact. So far she's heard about humans, and twice. One has killed her sister and the other one has killed her. I don't know whether they're sisters or what way it works, whether it's her cousin. Killed the sister of Soji. So as far as she's concerned, humans are just there to kill. And she's not entirely happy with Picard because she sees Picard now as a threat, because he's quite persuasive. He is very, very good at putting an argument across. Certainly we've seen that in TNG about them. There was some fantastic court scene episodes as well where Picard was wonderful at producing arguments for the defendant. And so she's worried that he would be able to persuade the rest of her family because he wants to bring them all on board. He wants to take them away and look after them and defend them to the Federation. But of course, Sung, he said, look, they didn't listen to him after the war on Mars that time, after the shipyards were destroyed. Do you honestly think they're going to listen to him now? And I think...
Which is a very fair point from him then. Mm-hmm. Very fair point that he makes, that Sung makes. Why would they listen to you? He's just saying, well, they all like you here. They're all in raptures to listen to you because to them, this guy's got old and is seen as having, being full of wisdom and these great, wonderful things you were known to do as Admiral Picard. But basically, nothing. It's not going to work. You just, you're going to be, you're the person who's screaming, shouting at the sea, demanding that it turns when nothing will happen.
Yeah, it's a pity because Picard's on a great roll at that point, and him coming in going, no, they'll not believe you now. you can understand why the synths are starting to listen to him because he is a great orator. But Sung just goes, nah, bullshit, mate. They're not going to listen to you now. If they didn't listen to you then, they're not going to listen to you now. Nobody else listened to him. And they put him under house arrest. And actually, he gets manhandled quite a lot as he's dragged off.
Yeah, because they try and also go after Agnes, don't they? And she sort of basically, she tries to mount an argument that I will do my best to help you. There's no point arresting me. I've worked my life to sort of create what you are. Well, again, she's trying to put this argument forward, but really it's a bit of a weak argument, if I'm honest. Although, interestingly, her argument is basically like a pathetic way of saying that I deserve to be helped because I did all this stuff to help you. And, you see Sung sort of say, well, she has been useful. She's kind of like the nearest thing you guys are going to have to a mother. It's almost like she's basically, she's done the most obvious thing that you would expect, unfortunately, of Agnes, where Agnes was attempting to maybe save her image a bit, or was getting to a point where she was saving her image, and now she just sort of like has bartered herself to say, well, take Picard, not me. The only thing I'm sort of praying at this point, I know you hate Agnes, but I'm praying that maybe she will have always be trying to, in the back of her mind thinking, well, if I, stay working with these people, I might be able to save everybody and atone for my sins. But who knows?
I think there's maybe an element in that. I seen Will Wheaton's show this week, The Ready Room, did show a clip from the next episode, and I think maybe we're going to see Agnes's. I think she's maybe going to come good. I still don't like her as a character. I still think she needs eyebrows. I know I keep saying that, but it just is doing my head in, as we say over here. But maybe the girl will come good eventually. I think actually I kind of slightly felt sorry for her because her argument became as Sutra is about the mind reader, that she was actually driven mad by Commander O. That really
she was, yeah.
Yeah, and sort of actually, whenever you take a step back, you think, yes, there was stuff implanted in her mind. She was, I don't like to use the word rape, but you know what I mean. It wasn't consent as such what was done to her, and it destroyed her mind. It certainly destroyed how she sees herself as a person too, because before I do think, yes, she was fundamentally good. She's weak, but she was probably a good person, and now she knows herself that she's a killer. And maybe logically she's thinking, well, how did I allow that to happen? There's maybe a wee bit of self-flagellation going on here at the same time, that she can't understand why she did that.
But then what it does is, you are right, and I'll be interested to see what comes from that. And then it goes to Commander O on some sort of warbird, isn't it? It's a very cool looking ship, actually, and that too is going through the weird wonderful wormhole. And interesting with Commander O, there is no sign of her in her in Starfleet uniform at all. She's gone to the full Romulan.
Did you notice the difference? Being the costume fanatic that I am, huge difference in the naval uniform now for the Romulans. Gone are the big shoulder pads, the really bowl cut hair that your mum would have done to you in the 80s, and the weird patterning, and the fact those shoulder pads, you could, I know, I do judges from Judge Dredd, and you can't walk through door frames half the time when you got your big shoulders on. And that was the Romulans. The Romulans were very, very much a triangular shape, but now it's really sleek. I actually did recognise her at first. It wasn't until I read something about it later on. I thought, shit, that was Commander O. She looked sexy as fuck.
Interesting.
Love that.
But yeah, it's been a good. I've really liked this episode. I think it's been a good little episode. And I love the fact that I'm not alone. Having spoke to you, that it's felt like sort of classic Trek with going down to the planet. So what would you give this out of 10, Joanne?
I think I would give this 8.5. And the only reason why I'm giving it 8.5, not any higher, is because we haven't seen the last episode. This is part 1. Now, I hope they don't fuck up, because everybody's they often do this. Part 1 of a part 2 is absolutely fantastic, and you think, oh my goodness, this is so good. How are they going to beat this? And they don't. But I'm really hoping that we get the answers we deserve for the 10th part. That it would just be so exciting if we get. Okay, there's got to be some mysteries. If they're going to do series 2, chances are there's maybe going to be wee Easter eggs. But I want to see 7 of 9 and the Borg saving the day. And I'd like to see Commander O and Jurati meet up again. See what would happen on that occasion. Could Jurati become a killer once more if she was given the option?
I won't give it 8.5. I give it 8. I think. Just I want to see a bit more sort of maybe more explanation on some of the characters, such as Sutra and things in it. I did like the fact that, to me, you seemed quite a realistic reaction, because a Sutra is definitely I'd not thought of this until you mentioned it, but definitely there is obviously one good twin and one evil twin throughout all these cyborg creations. But Sutra's argument, you could say, actually makes a lot of sense, because why on earth would you want people to come to your planet who have basically all they've really done is create chaos and pain for you, and they're going to bring a lot more trouble in the shape of the Romulans? And I can only think, looking at, because initially I was trying to think, why did Sutra release Narek unless she's released him simply because she knows it'll bring the Romulans and all unholy hell can begin?
Yes, I was wondering that too. She had set up Narek to be the bad guy, so that she could persuade her brothers and sisters, yes, these humans are really bad. It doesn't matter what they look like. Doesn't matter whether pointy ears, smooth foreheads, normal ears, whatever. They're all evil, and you must see them that way. Sutra is the bad guy ultimately in the end. I know Soji clearly has problems trying to reconcile with Sutra's decision, but she certainly comes around to it in the end.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they cap this off, and it's going to be interesting to see. We know there's going to be series. Well, we know there's going to be series 2. The thing we now face with this coronavirus epidemic is, when will series 2 happen? It could be a long way off. It may not actually happen. Lots of things could end up being cancelled. One thought that just occurred to me that would be very interesting. We know we've seen Brent Spiner. I did not know he'd be in this episode at all. When I saw information on him on IMDb for episodes, it was showing limited information for what he'd be in. It showed less than he's actually been in. To be fair to that with Jerry Ryan, it didn't show as many episodes for her, so they've maybe been a bit sneaky on what they're releasing. Wouldn't it be interesting? I'm not saying it's going to happen, because I am not as brilliant at prognosticating things as I thought, or am I? But wouldn't it be interesting if the Golem brought back Data?
Ooh. Yes. Well, you shocked me when you said last time you thought it was Narek in that wee ship, and you were spot on. And I'm going, fuck, I hadn't actually thought of that. Yeah, that Golem is obviously going to be the shocker. Who it is, don't know, but Data, I hadn't even thought. Hadn't thought of Data. I mean, that would be a hell of a shock for Picard. I might kill the poor man if he sees Data coming back like that. That would be Picard's. That would be the completion of the journey that he had been on since he lost Data. The ability to properly apologize. Now, I know he sort of used Soji the other week as a way of forgiving him his sins, but it's not the same as if he had actually spoke to Data. I mean, if they're all made of one wee molecule of Data, can't remember, they have a fancy made up name for it. Where is that bit kept? And can that be replicated into the Golem? I do think it's probably for Sung, but then maybe I'm just going, maybe Sung's happy enough to die, because is he replicating all these children of his, or are they older models making the newer models? You're not really sure on that. You don't know whether He's made them all. I know he made the butterflies because there's a reference to the butterflies because he said he missed butterflies. And he made stuff for the planet. And obviously he made Spot as well. But did he make every single one of those synths? Or did the synths make the other synths? And that's why you're seeing a change in models each time. Upgrades. Like new Apple phones.
Yeah. So does that make Sung Steve Jobs?
Yeah. Do you know what? They should have really dressed him in a black polo neck with a projection in behind him, doing PowerPoint presentations and engaging the audience with the microphone. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like
you're right.
Yeah. We're the same. We have these microphones that we're sitting with at the moment. We are sort of like doing a Steve Jobs thing at home with our headsets on, talking to ourselves like dicks.
Very true. But yeah, so I've just had a thought. So if Sung is Steve Jobs, Maddox is Tim Cook. I think that was called, isn't it? Tim Cook. Yeah. So basically, yeah, that's the thing. So Maddox is like the not as good, but equally pretty bloody exceptional knockoff from Sung, who is Steve Jobs.
I hope. Well, you had mentioned before that you thought that the Daystrom Institute looked more like an Apple store.
Yes.
I mean, I think in some ways, whenever we're reviewing them, our reviews have kind of got slightly more serious as time goes on, because there was a drop in the quality, I think, of the writing for a while, which was hard to describe, and things got very, very choppy. But
yeah,
it's nearly got slightly easier to review in some ways because it's not just as choppy as it was. I think possibly the stories run slightly smoother. Scenes are interlinked, interlocking, whatever the word is, better together than they were initially, because there was the time that we did the 2 episodes together. That was really, really hard to review because there were so many. So many. Mm-hmm. So I think there has
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it's been. There's been a sort of like an improvement in how it's been shot. You don't feel like that you're missing out in bits. So here's hoping we have a decent ending, and then in the next episode. If we don't, you're probably going to be able to hear the screams of us. But then by then, the zombies will have appeared, and we could just be screaming anyway.
Very true. I mean, I would love if I still think that you could have ended the series as I wanted to with Riker. I think that would have worked well. I am very interested to see what happens for the final episode. I do like the fact that we're getting this idea of influence from within to try and find a common foe to blame things on with regard to Sutra. Again, are we going to see, potentially with the way Sutra is it going to get a bit Nazi-like? In fact, if you think about it really to a degree, there is very much a Nazi vibe in the sense of these perfect people, interesting twins, and you have somebody like Sutra sort of saying, all your problems can be blamed on this one group of people. You will rise against them. We are better than them. Like the idea of the Aryan race thing. So I think there's that element there that would be interesting if it was explored. I would love to see if I am correct that it could be Data. Part of me thinks it may not be, but would it not be an amazing thing to see if it was Data the Golem?
Yeah, it would be big, huge screams. The only thing that bringing back some of these older characters, like if it was Picard possibly into the Golem or Data, is that the fact that the actors themselves, their voices and their appearance might be very, very difficult to replicate. Because you'd like to see them as a younger version. I'm just thinking, actually, if Picard became the Golem, it would be Picard as he is at the moment. So we'd have a permanently Picard, which is okay. It's great to see the character, but is that practical? I mean, if you were going to become a of yourself, you'd want to become the young version.
So, basically, let's hope they could hire Tom Hardy for that one episode.
Yeah, just the one. I mean, and then, of course, we still have hanging over us as well Annika, as she's gone back, as 7 of 9 is supposed possibly gone back to being. Will she become the Borg Queen next week?
Oh,
I didn't realise there's so many XBs about. I thought the XBs were, I thought that they were all gone almost. That was the impression that I got of the last episode. And yet whenever we go into the cube, they're busy and about like wee bees. Okay, there's only a handful of them, but it was certainly great to see that there were still some alive. So how many exactly drones does she have on board?
And we've still not seen Alice Krieg in any form.
No. So next week could be one hell of an episode. I haven't looked up to see the run on this for next week. It's not an extended episode, is it? What is the runtime? I mean, have we an extended episode, or is it just the standard 45 minutes?
I have no idea. But you know what? There's only one way we're going to find out. And I am promising I'm going to do my absolute best to social media cut myself off Thursday, Friday, because I don't want to know anything. I don't want to see any weird release pictures where someone goes, oh, look, it's such a person. Like I think they've done with The Walking Dead, where they released a picture of something, or when they stick up a picture of Sutra. I don't want to know. I want the shocker. I want to be there Friday morning going, holy shit, either good or bad.
I had that spoiled as well because there's one of the review videos and it come up, you know, the way you get on my phone, I sort of like get some sort of like scraper when it comes to news stories, and it throws out YouTube videos if you've watched any of them. And there was that photograph, that one little photograph of Sutra, and I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, Soji's got the golden eyes. I had no idea what it was, and yet to a certain degree it didn't spoil it, but literally anything at all next weekend could spoil it. And I don't want that either. I want to be, well, we could be cut off from everything by then anyway. We may not have any internet by that time. Who the fuck knows? It's a week away. Anything could happen.
Well, on that bombshell, as Clarkson or Partridge would say, I think we have, in fact, I'm going to use Gemma's quote, I think we've been talking enough codswallop, so I'm going to bring it to a close. It's been an absolute pleasure as ever. I have been James.
And I've been Joanne. Well, I still am at the moment, but if the zombies get the hold of me next week, I'll be brains.